Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. The Kaldheim spoiler hits just keep coming, and it's not even lunchtime. Well, I guess I should say it's not yet lunchtime for me. It really depends on, where you're at and when you have lunch or, what your schedule is. Anyways, it's early. So if you haven't seen my very early this morning episode on Finn the Fangbearer, make sure you check that one out. A Death Touch commander that deals with poison counters, yeah, that's pretty sweet. And make sure you see my most recent episode on Bodie McBoatface, your brand new vehicle commander. And if you're not sure what Bodie McBoatface is, Google it. Anyways, with those episodes and with this one, a quick spoiler warning. On these types of episodes, I'm going to be going through Kaldheim spoilers, so if you don't want to see spoilers, don't keep watching. Maybe just go watch my Morothon Eldrazi episode because Eldrazi. But if you're here for the spoiler, let's jump into it. So the Kaldheim spoiler that I'm going to be talking about in this episode is Glorious Guardian. A quick note, this is obviously a mock-up for translation purposes. Anyways, it's a 3/4 Angel Cleric with Flash and Flying, and it costs 2 white, but it has Foretell for 2 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, you exile any number of target non-angel creatures you control until Glorious Guardian leaves the battlefield. So this card does a lot of cool things and can be incredibly impactful in the right scenario and the right deck, so let's break it down. First off, this is a Foretell spell, so again, Foretell is a new mechanic from Kaldheim. Basically, you can pay 2 and exile this card face down. And then you can cast it on a later turn by paying its Foretell cost. So overall, that will cost you 5 mana in total, which is 1 more than the card's actual cost. But on the turn that you do cast it, you are getting a discount. And it's going to be a lot easier to hold up 3 mana for this effect instead of 4. So in a way, you are saving mana, though you are spending more overall. Now let's dig more into what this does. When it comes into play, we can get rid of any number of our non-angel creatures on the field until it leaves the battlefield. So this is a fantastic way to protect our creatures from a board wipe. I should say non-angel creatures. So although this is a very effective angel, if you put in your angel tribal deck, it's really not going to do anything. That being said, this card has a lot of applications and a lot of decks can really use an effect like this. Saving your board for just 3 mana is a big deal. And on top of that, if you've got any creatures that have any ETBs, you're getting those a second time when they come back into play after this dies. And obviously, if you've got any creatures with LTBs, you get those right away. First off though, let's talk about some somewhat similar cards to this one. And there are actually a good amount of comparison cards to this one. The first that immediately came to mind was Restoration Angel. It's a 3/4 angel with Flash and Flying that costs 4 mana. Sound familiar? Anyways, when it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-angel creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. So very similar, but different. This angel blinks 1 non-angel right away. So this can help protect that creature from targeted removal or help you abuse an ETB or LTB, but it's not going to help you against a Wrath. Because if someone casts a Wrath, and you cast this to save a creature, your creature's gonna go away, and then come back and see that the Wrath is still there. Now obviously these both have their pluses and minuses. Your Guardian can protect more creatures, but it's harder to abuse ETBs with it. In a similar way, Lumbering Battlement is a lot like Glorious Guardian. It has when it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-token creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield. Now this might get +2/+2 for each card exiled with it, and it's got Vigilance, but it doesn't have Flash. And that is a huge difference, and that's why this doesn't see a lot of play at all. Because this most definitely isn't board wipe protection, unless it's protecting from your own board wipe that you know you're going to cast later. Whereas the Guardian is a lot more flexible and can really help you save your team. So in that way, she's more like an Eerie Interlude. Eerie Interlude says, exile any number of target creatures you control, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So a fantastic card at protecting your creatures from board wipes and abusing LTBs and ETBs. Obviously, the main difference between this and Glorious Guardian is that this gives you a specific time as to when your creatures are coming back. Whereas Glorious Guardian is just whenever I leave the battlefield. And then Ghostway is very similar to this. It says, exile each creature you control, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So essentially you can't just pick and choose which creatures you exile. Oh, and one more thing about this card. It needs a reprint, so Wizards, get on it. But again, something to consider with Glorious Guardian is that your creatures are kind of trapped if you aren't getting rid of the Glorious Guardian. Now, obviously that's somewhat of a small risk, but it is still a risk. The obvious first way to get your creatures back is again to have Glorious Guardian die. So again, like I mentioned before, you might be casting her as Wrath Protection, and that scenario should play out really well. You cast her and exile all your other creatures away to safety, the Wrath resolves, she dies, and your creatures come back. And again, you're getting any LTBs or ETBs again. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but ETB means enter the battlefield, and LTB means leave the battlefield. Regardless, just know that there are ways where it doesn't actually play out that way. If someone casts that Wrath, then you exile your creatures in response to the Angel, and then someone counters the Wrath, your Angel's not dying anymore. So your creatures are just kind of stuck in limbo for a bit. But with a deck that this Angel is going to be effective in, you're probably going to have other ways to get rid of her. So in a Blink deck, you're definitely going to have cards like Ephemerate. It says exile target creature you control, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control, and it's got Rebound. So you blink your Angel to get your other stuff back, and then when she comes back into play, you can choose not to exile anything, or just to pick and choose whichever creatures you do want to exile. Again, you don't have to exile anything with her ETB. But if you want to keep abusing your other creatures' ETBs and you've got other ways to get her back, then go for it. And actually, Ephemerate can do this twice because of the Rebound, so that's an option. Or if your deck's got Sacrifice Outlets, that's a way to do it too. Fanatical Devotion is an old one that's in white, and it says sacrifice a creature, regenerate target creature. Although you're losing your Angel, it's going to be worth it to get back all your other creatures. But actually with this Angel, there are some sneaky things that you can do, and I want you to consider them when building a deck. The first involves cards like Sneak Attack. Now, Sneak Attack isn't a budget card, but I'm just using this as an example because there are other cards that do similar things. Basically, by paying a red, you can put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste, sacrifice the creature at the beginning of the next end step. So you basically cheat a creature into play for one turn. With your Glorious Guardian, you can exile it before you have to sacrifice it. And then when you get it back into play, you no longer have to sacrifice it. So Glorious Guardian can basically help you keep creatures in play that weren't supposed to stick around. One thing though that I want to bring up really quick is the significance of this card having Foretell. Now obviously when you foretell a card, you know what that card is, but your opponents don't. So this can really change the way that your opponents play because they might assume that it's something that it's not. And if you're playing in blue, the card that they're definitely going to assume that it is Saw It Coming. Saw It Coming is the Foretell counterspell. So they might be playing around what they think is a counterspell when it's not. And this can lead to a lot of misplays. I go into more depth about this in my episode that I titled The New Willbender, which again is about Saw It Coming, so if you want to check that out, go ahead. But not until you finish this episode, okay? But now let's talk about some potential commanders that might want this card. Again, to all the Angel Tribal enthusiasts out there, I am sorry, but it's probably not going to be for you. The first one that came to mind is Rune of the Hidden Realm. With Rune, you can pay 2 and tap it to exile another target creature, and then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Rune decks are generally blink decks that really like to abuse powerful ETBs. And Rune is basically a safeguard for your Angel to make sure that you're never just stuck with your Angel. And your Angel helps you basically blink all your non-Angel creatures. And of course, we gotta bring up the King of Blink with Brago King Eternal himself. Brago can definitely blink everything when he hits, so yeah, he can definitely blink your Angel. In these kind of decks, it really might just be a good idea to protect your board ahead of time. If you've got ways to blink your Angel, just keep your other creatures in exile until you need them. And of course, another blink commander is Yorion, which when it ETBs, you get to blink a lot of things. But a new commander from Kaldheim probably wants to consider this one as well with Renar the Ever-Watchful. Renar is all about Foretell. It has the first card you foretell each turn costs 0 to foretell. And whenever you exile one or more cards from your hand and or permanents from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So this can help you foretell for free on top of giving you a lot of spirits. But as this episode is coming to a close, what's my gut feeling on this card? Overall, I think Glorious Guardian is fantastic board wipe protection for the right deck. And again, if you've got a blink deck that already abuses ETB, she's gonna fit right in. And on top of that, if you're playing blue, your opponents are never gonna see it coming. Get it? Because of Saw It Coming? Huh? Yeah. I know that was bad. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.